say we were both given the same plot to write, you and I, we'd come up with completely different books because your outlook is different than mine. Your life experiences are different. The way we express ourselves and our language and how we move through life is so different. And that's what makes so many books out there such a joy when you find that voice that kind of speaks to you as well. So I like to tell people you have an amazing voice. Let it be heard.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the podcast for those who want to advance into the business of immortality through authorship, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Daily Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. Today's podcast review highlight comes from Joe Lute, and he left a 5-star review titled "Awesome!" exclamation point. It's great to know Dom in real life. He's a great role model, and his podcast is flat out awesome. Thanks a bunch, Joe, for leaving that great review, my friend. Hope all is well with you and the fam. And if you want your future review highlighted on this podcast, go ahead and leave one on the website, goingnorthpodcast.com, or your favorite podcast player. And we'll be sure to read it out aloud for everyone and their mama to listen to. Now let's get on to some wonderful content. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, we got another super special, awesome human that could probably fit all 3 of those G's and more, because today's guest in particular, courtesy Mr. Eminem himself, that's right indeed, used to be Canadian, now he's Texan, baby, that's right indeed, Mr. Mickey Pickle said indeed, that's right indeed, where you trade in maple syrup for big barbecue, that's right indeed, he actually helped today's guest in particular become part of the Going North podcast alumni, because today's guest in particular, she's an award-winning author, y'all. That's right indeed, an award-winning author. So gold and blue ribbon, y'all. That's right indeed. And she's also a wife, a mother, as well as a tea lover. And she's actually the first on this podcast to be a top 1% reviewer from Goodreads.com. So let's give it up for the one, the only, JLE, the wonderful Lynn Else. How you doing today, Lynn?
Oh, I am doing fabulous. Thank you so much for that nice introduction, too. Not many people notice my Goodreads percentage, so woo!
Well, have to. I mean, hey, like that place is known for huge reviews where if it's trash, they will trash it. If it's not trash, they will trash it.
I know. I do love to read, and I do love Goodreads because I just love talking about books all the time. So that's where I go. And thankfully, it's been very kind to my books, so I can't complain.
Good. That's right. All the puns intended and unintended. That's right indeed, that's right indeed. Well, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 77 and a half days long. And since it's your first time on the podcast, usually try to get the backstories of each guest for the folks listening at home or in their cars or wherever they are on the globe, or the pancake if they're a flat earther. So my feeling is in on how you got to where you are today.
Well, I've always loved to read, but growing up as I did, there weren't a lot of lead female characters that I could identify with. One of the first ones I'd say was I read A Wrinkle in Time, and the main character is a sister. She's a daughter. She gets angry sometimes. She makes mistakes, and I was like, I can totally relate to that. And I kept searching for more science fiction fantasy with those types of characters, and I just wasn't finding them. Then I was watching this movie, and it looked like the guys were having all the magical fun, and the girls were being the smart, stiff-necked, turning him in, getting him in trouble. And I'm like, no. I'm sick of these stereotypes. I want to write a book that has all sorts of lead female characters. I want them to be fun and goofy and make mistakes and sometimes get angry and learn and grow together. And so that's really what was kind of that kick in the butt to get this book series started. I just wanted to have something that, like my daughter and her friends, as unique as they are, they could each find something in it. So I started out when my kids were little. I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old now. But when they were babies, I tried my hand at children's books because I read a lot of books and I was like, I want to do this too. And then, life happens. I queried a few people, nothing really hit. And so kids grew up and eventually I'm like, I think I have time to start a different story. So then I went to this King Tut exhibit, which was amazing. And I saw all of these images of King Tut and his wife on Guest in the Moon. And they're all together and they're loving and they're in like everything, but nobody knows what happened to his wife after his death. And I was like, I want to find out about this young lady. So I did a lot of research. I have so many ancient Egyptian books. I swear it drives my husband mad. I keep bringing him home and he's like, please stop. And I just kept researching and I'm like, this is a story. I want to bring her voice to light. So that was my first book, was about King Tut's wife. I then wrote about King Tut's older sister, because it was a very turbulent time back then. Their dad introduced monotheism, which is crazy because Egyptians had thousands of gods back then. And he's like, nope, we're just worshiping one. So you can probably imagine the turmoil growing up in that and then having to reestablish everything after their father's death. And she was like 12 when she had to marry Tut, who was 9 at the time. And then they had to start fixing all the problems their dad created. So I wanted to write a story about that. And then I wanted to write more about that time period. And then I was like, I love fantasy so much. I'm diving into this. And that's when I wanted to come up with all those fun female characters to lead this story into a fantasy land. So yeah, I think a roundabout way I told you how I got here.
There we go. Circle style indeed. That's right indeed. Roundabout all the pyramid, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And it's actually interesting too, and that's really because you have that wonderful love of ancient history, especially the wonderful Egyptian history. So my goodness, do you ever wear a pyramid on your head and say, "Hey, I'm part of the Illuminati," just for laughs and giggles?
No.
Oh,
I
darn.
have worn an Indiana Jones hat, but that's about as close as I've gotten.
Okay. I guess for next interview. That's right, folks. We got to dare Jamie here. We got to dare to wear a pyramid for no reason. That's right, indeed. Be the all-seeing eye, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. Because she's writing historical fiction. That means she knows stuff. She knows how the circle's going to come back around to completion.
We got to be careful. We got to know our history. Can't be a little scary out there.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Especially when you tap into history like that, because it's so darn true. It's like, dude, how can we not bow down to the god of thunder? Why we gotta bow down to the god of batteries now? Like, why can't we bow down to the god of water, huh? Like, hey, we're about to make a god of bagels, but then Dad ruined it for everybody.
That sounds awesome. I love bagels. They're so good.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Yep, little Pharaoh's gonna be like, hey, buddy. Yeah, I had the cream cheese ready because I'm rise to the top.
You're full of puns. I didn't know I had to be prepared with puns. Oh, I feel so just unprepared now. Man, my dad loves puns. So I would have a lot if I could tap into his expertise. I'd wow you.
But hey, you've been wild, folks, because you decided to join the business of immortality not once, but twice, multiple times over. So, my goodness, what helped you to get the courage to finally publish some of your work?
I think I just wanted to tell stories. I think that was really it because when I started my first book, I had some people read it and I got some positive feedback from some of my early readers. I had a writing group that I would tap into and they'd help me with some of this. And like I said, I just wanted to tell that story. I wanted her to have a voice again. And so I decided to go through the self-publishing avenue and we got an editor. that we knew locally. And then once that was done, we worked on cover design and then getting it formatted correctly. And then boom, it was out there. And it was scary because you put yourself out there. And it's easy to think of your books as your babies. They're really, I mean, they're not, because you have to let a developmental editor help you develop those babies. So they may, adjust a few things here and there, take something out, request something new, all to make the story better. And so having it out there was exciting and scary. And then when I started getting some positive reviews, I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. People have liked what I've done. And then I get a 1-star review and I'm like, I questioned my whole life. Why? But that's okay. I've come to learn that not everyone's going to like my book. And that's just the beauty of diversity, that not everyone's going to like it. That's fine. I'm okay with it now. Back then it was a little tougher, but that just put me on the journey to writing more and telling these stories. I'd love to go back to ancient Egypt. I'm working on an ancient Egyptian fantasy set during the time the pyramids are being built. So I just find the time period and the people and how they lived just so fascinating. So fascinating. I know I could never do that. I am so happy for electricity and plumbing, but those people were amazing.
Oh, yes, right. Especially getting cooked up in that Egyptian sun.
I do like the cold. I love fall. Fall is my favorite. It's beautiful right now. It's like upper 60s. My favorite. Love it. I could not handle Egyptian sun. I went to Vegas earlier this year and it was like 110 degrees and I thought I was going to melt on the pavement. It was terrible. I'm like, how does it get this hot? Not my cup of tea.
And 110, that was probably not even their hottest, was it?
Probably wasn't, but we went to the Hoover Dam that day and it was just murderous. That wasn't the best day. I got a little heat stroke. I was better by the evening, but yeah, don't go to the Hoover Dam when it's, like 110 degrees and there's no clouds in the sky.
Ah, there we go. That's right indeed. Nature at its best, y'all. That's right indeed. Where you get to fully take in the sun, get the full cooking experience. That's right. That's right indeed.
It baked my very soul, I swear.
That's right indeed. And then you woke up and realized you were a bush this whole time. Baked so much.
That's true. Yes. It would be cool if, something good would come out of it, like bagels, but it didn't.
Yeah, that's right. The ancient Egyptian pharaohs took away our bagel god. How dare they? Let me stop.
I can't believe they stopped at bagels. Why?
Oh man, that's definitely good though. So my goodness, getting a wonderful developmental editor and helping out with the wonderful cause indeed, and that's definitely huge indeed. Because yeah, that's probably something that probably isn't brought up on the show a lot. The fact that you really need different types of editors if you're really gonna make your book as good as it can become. So my goodness, so what was the entire editing process like? Like how many editors did you have to bring on all together since you were writing historical fiction, not your regular everyday business short nonfiction book?
It was more difficult with the historical fiction because the editors I had, because I was doing it myself, I just found people who we knew who were from the community who were good editors, but they weren't really developmental editors per se for the Egyptian books. They just really helped me get it into shape for actually, getting out there and publishing. When I signed with my publisher, Inklings Publishing, their developmental editor was just what I needed. She was, enough taken questioning me enough so I would think about it, but not too much that I would get upset about it and angry. It was just enough to make me think more and maybe bring more out of the story or find a different avenue or really dive into a character. And it is really helpful too, those writing communities you can find. We have a good one where I live here. And some great advice I got when I was working on one of my books was that when they read the chapter that I had submitted, they couldn't hear the voice of my character. And I was like, I didn't realize I had lost it. And that was very important criticism. So I could go back in and find my voice that for some reason I had lost for that particular chapter. I just wasn't in that character's head at the time. I'm a very character driven writer, so sometimes my stories take unexpected turns, which I love, but at the same time, it can drive my developmental editor crazy. So she does help keep everything in line and keep my story, all the different avenues of it flowing together. And it is a process. You just have to realize it's going to make it better. Don't take it like a personal attack against you, because it's not. It's helping you. So I think that's one thing early authors struggle with, as I did, is critique is a good thing. I had a reviewer say that I had put the word kids in one of my ancient Egyptian stories, and that sounded too modern. And I agreed. I was like, oh, dang. So because I was through Amazon, I could actually go in and update my manuscript and take that out. So just know that negative reviews, critiques, anything like that can make you better if you look at it from that angle. So it's a process. It takes time. Sometimes you go through like 2 editing passes, 3 editing passes. My most recent book, Destiny of Avalon, it only went through 1 editing pass. My developmental editor was like, this is like the best developed first draft I've ever seen. I was like, oh, thank you. Love it. So we got that one done rather quicker than the other 2, but yeah, it's a process, and each book is a little different. So it just depends on how much work, how much more story you can get out of it that really brings out the best in you, polishes you off, makes you all shiny, and just presents it to the world then.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sounds like you got the right mindset, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because, hey, not all critics are idiots. Not all of them. Some of them are stupid. But, hey, there's some like the one you mentioned where it's like, hey, you know what? They're actually right. I'm going to go ahead and change this up. Let me go ahead and pull out this chisel real quick. Put Michelangelo back in Michelangelo mode. There we go. It's like, yeah.
That's a
Perfectly chiseled.
positive thing about self-publishing is you can go in and do that. So that's nice. You can't really do that when you have a publisher. Once it's out there, it's out there. So if there's anything you need to edit, you'll need to talk to your publisher again. Can we release a special edition? And can I edit out this one thing? Doesn't usually go over, I don't think.
It's like, yeah, you know that print run of like 50,000 copies y'all did? You're like, yeah, can we do it again? But after I change this.
Yeah, I found a spelling error and I'm really embarrassed.
And they're like, nope, you suffer now. It's either that or you have to go to Anubis.
I know. Dear God, please help me with my manuscript. But no, my developmental editor has been very good. The only time that I had to we were almost ready to publish and I was looking through the hard copy and I'm like, this restaurant is an actual restaurant and one of the editors had changed how it was spelled. And I'm like, no, that's not correct. You must change this back right now. This is nostalgia for me. I want it in the book. Spell it right. So I did have them update that before it went to print. So that's the only time I've ever encountered that, was just that in my first book, I was like, nope, you may think it's spelled with a Y, but it is spelled with an IE apostrophe S. So you'll have to read my book to find out what I'm talking about.
Oh, sweet. So you heard that right, folks. Cop some copies of our magical books. The link's going to be in the show notes, indeed. So my goodness, any other advantages slash disadvantages to self-publishing versus going through a traditional publisher?
I really like the support that the publishers have for me. It really feels like a family that helps me get through some of this. Like if I'm struggling with something and, we can just bounce ideas off each other, give each other a call. It's nice to have that support system for me and for my books, and who see the value in my books that aren't, say, friends or family members. This is an outside company that's looking at my work and saying, this is good. We want to publish this. Let's fix this up a bit. So that's a huge boost and a help and a motivation. With self-publishing, you have that freedom to update things as you will, because let me tell you, after I published my first book, like, I swear, a month or 2 later, they're like, "Oh, we found out King Tut died a different way." And I was like, "Ah, man, I just published a book and he died, and now it's wrong."
Ouch.
So, at least with it was self-published, I could fix that. I was like, "Okay, how can we adjust this to make sense with the story?" I fixed it, and then everything was fine. It was fine. So that's the advantage of self-publishing is you can go in and make those edits. It hadn't been out long, it hadn't sold much, so I didn't feel too bad about people who got the original copy. Maybe someday they'll be like worth millions because it was like the first printing. But yeah, so that was the nice thing about self-publishing. But the difficult thing is marketing, finding those platforms, getting newsletters out, talking to people like you, having those connections to help promote and talk about your books. It's really difficult when you self-publish. And if you can surround yourself with some good people, some other good authors, they can be really good resources to help you find those connections. But yeah, it is an uphill battle with advertising for my books.
Oh yeah, yes indeed. Cause it's definitely true. It's definitely true indeed. It's like, oh, self-publishing, Wild Wild West edition, baby. That's right indeed. And a traditional publishing house is like, hey, you stay in this house right now, dang it. That's right. We're gonna be doing things. That's
Secret
right
things.
indeed.
I
Yeah,
can't
that's
give
right.
away all of our secrets.
That's right indeed. Oh, there will be the curses awaiting you.
I mean, I do
That's
write
right.
about fantasy and magic, so I'm just throwing that out there.
See, that's right. See, she's already on the curb. That's right. She already knows it. She knows all the secrets, y'all. That's right. And if she told us, she had to kill us. So, well, probably just me. She doesn't know all the listeners who listen to the show. So, so,
That's
so,
true.
so, folks, listening, they're safe. Me, I don't know. I don't know, but I do
Hope
have
they see
peace
you next week,
officers.
right? Someone's
Exactly.
missing. Oh, I don't know.
It's like, yeah, he said spreading the chocolate everywhere one too many times again, so something happened.
Nice.
Oh man, but it ain't about spreading the chocolate everywhere. It's about your marvelous work. So my goodness. So with all this wonderful work that you do, and you're able to enjoy the best of both worlds, and starting off as a self indie publisher, and then find your way to a publishing magical house to help you out and join the family. My goodness, what helps you to stay curious?
I love reading lots. And when I discover a new idea of something, or I love reading about different cultures because I've grown up with so much English, Wales, American history. I've grown up with that. But when I come across something super cool, like, some Asian mythology or some like Aztec mythology, or it just makes me think of all the possibilities that are out there when you think about their different gods. And I think it's crazy how in Mexico and in Egypt they were building pyramids and there's no way they would have ever communicated. I mean, how crazy is that? So just thinking of all those wonderful connections is amazing. Reading in that genre you love can really spark that creativity. I also really have a lot of fun, I'll be honest, on TikTok. Me and my brother, when we were little, we used to make little Star Trek movies with our action figures, like they'd be stop motion. And now I get to make videos like on TikTok all the time. I can talk about books, I can talk about my books, I can learn about what's happening, publishing deals and authors. And there's just so much more I want to learn and read and discover. Yeah, it just keep reading, keep learning, keep talking with new and exciting people like yourself. That's how you stay curious.
Oh, sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Staying curious, indeed. So, my goodness, so since this is far from your first ever podcast, and you've now been on a few of these promoting the wonderful work that you're creating out on the wonderful blue earth, is there a question that you wish you be asked more often?
I like answering the question about what would you tell other authors about motivating them to get their own story out there? And what I really like to say to that is that everyone is so unique and diverse out in the world. I mean, what is the population of planet Earth? It's like over a billion. You are one in a billion. How incredible is that? And in that sense, your voice is the only one that can tell your story. Say we were both given the same plot to write, you and I, we'd come up with completely different books because your outlook is different than mine. Your life experiences are different. The way we express ourselves and our language and how we move through life is so different. And that's what makes so many books out there such a joy when you find that voice that kind of speaks to you as well. So I like to tell people you have an amazing voice. Let it be heard. That's what I like to share with people to help them on their writer journey. Get it out there. You're amazing. Let's hear about how amazing you are.
Oh, that's right, indeed, baby. That E and L stands for encourage, y'all. That's right, indeed. The mighty encourager, indeed. That's right, indeed. We already know what the J stands for, Jules, because she's a joy, y'all. That's right, indeed. Because she's got a point. It's like, hey, you decide to put your voice out there, indeed. That's right, indeed. Put your creative spin on things. That's right, indeed. Put out all the dreidels and all the Beyblades, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed.
I have a nephew who loves Beyblades, so I'm assuming you have other kids in your life who also enjoy Beyblades. Or do you enjoy Beyblades? I don't mean to say you can't. So I still collect Star Wars toys. It's perfectly fine.
Hey, it's all good. One of my closest friends growing up, he actually used to love Beyblade. Like he loved it before we even met, and he played it for a couple of years. So yeah, it's been around for a while. I can't believe it's actually still popular, which is freaking great. It's like yay, staying power.
Right? Stuff that we like that was cool is still cool.
That's right, indeed. So do you think boy bands will make a appearance again in the future?
What are you talking about, man? I know that New Kids on the Block and like Backstreet Boys, I think they're touring together. So, yeah, I want to get on that train, by the way. I remember I went to one of their early concerts at a state fair when I was much, middle grade. So, I would love to see them now as an adult. That would be crazy. So, they are trying to make a comeback. They are touring and it's crazy. I think it would be like if I went, you don't always see how old you're getting in the mirror, but when you see someone else, you're like, oh, whoa, they got old. Wait, that means I got old. Dang it. Like just a shock to the system. Like they still don't look like they did in their videos.
So indeed, larger than life. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Oh yeah, but I know their tones talk about new boy bands. It's like, yeah, come on, let's take it back to the late '90s, baby. Boy bands, all the perfect choreography. That's right indeed. That's right
Oh,
indeed for no reason.
that would be funny. There was a Gravity Falls episode about a boy band. That was a funny episode. I don't know if there's any Gravity Falls fans who are listening, but that was one of my favorite episodes.
All right, cool. So you heard it here, folks. If you're a Gravity Falls fan, reach out to the J herself. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So what's next up for you? Because I know you got something cooking in your noodle.
Actually, so I just finished a children's book and I wrote it and I also got to illustrate it. It's been one that's been on my shelves. Like I mentioned earlier, I tried my hand at children's books when my kids were babes. I dusted it off. I showed it to my publisher and they said, yeah, let's do this. So I just finished all the sketches and inking and coloring and I submitted it to the publisher and I can't wait to hear back and I hope they love it. It's about this adorable little elephant girl who loves dance so much. Her mother signs her up for a ballet class and all the adorableness and sometimes not so niceness that ensues because I'm sure as you can imagine, elephants aren't the stereotypical maybe body type that you think of with a ballerina. but that's also the point of the book. I want to promote a lot of body positivity, and I'm just so excited that it's there and it's in their hands, and I hope I have something out soon, maybe at the end of the year or whatnot. So that is my current project. It's kind of in the works right now.
So no wonder we talked about boy bands because it's larger than life ballerinas, baby. That's right indeed. That's right. That's right indeed.
She
Elephants and
loves to dance,
tutus.
man. I will tell you. She's so cute. Just wait till you see her.
Sweet. So I guess no publication date as of yet then for it, right?
We're hoping by around the Christmas season. So if you keep kind of watching my website and some of my social media, I'll probably have more information to come. But yeah, it's ready to roll.
That's right. It's ready to egg roll indeed. So you heard her, folks. You heard her, folks. That's right. Stalk her website, y'all. Bookmark it. Check it daily. Join a newsletter. That's right indeed. Welcome her into your inbox. It's great real estate. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so while waiting for the children's book, you had this wonderful trilogy, the Wonderful Awakenings book series. So my goodness, my goodness. So if that book series was a food, what would it be and why?
If it was a food, oh man, that is such a cool question. Maybe like a spicy taco, but not one from like Taco Bell, because those do not end well. This would be something that's got like a sweet sauce, but also some spicy salsa, some cozy guacamole, some lots of different like vegetables who are a lot of the knights and the other characters in the book, and lots of crunchy adventure. Tacos.
I like how you said crunchy adventure.
I created a new phrase. Let's have a crunchy adventure.
That's right indeed. You heard that right, folks. CA doesn't stand for California, it stands for crunchy adventure, y'all.
I love it.
So I move over Canada and California. We're in for a crunchy adventure. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
The advice I'd give to myself would be let your nerd flag fly, baby, because I was always a super geek. I loved Star Trek, Star Wars, but I didn't want people to know because I thought they'd judge me. But that stuff just so doesn't matter when you grow up. And now I don't care who knows how much nerd stuff I have in my house. I have an unhealthy obsession with Baby Yoda, and I'm cool with that because that's just who I am. And I tell myself to be proud of who you are. It's what I try to tell my kids. Let people see you for who you are. Those are the true friends who will value you. Let those let the vulnerability out. It's okay. Let it get out and play a little bit. So I guess I would say be comfortable in your own skin.
Woohoo! Sweet hashtag, one of the best quotes ever. Let your nerd flag fly, baby. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. About time we modernized it. That's right indeed. Freak flag was decades ago. Time to bring out the nerd flag, baby. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. We have floated in. We've come in from space. We are here now. It's okay to be a nerd. It's 2022. That's right indeed. Funny enough, the nerd's in reverse. You're kind of a nerd if you're not a nerd.
Hey, that's like wow, such forward thinking.
Yes,
You just
indeed.
tipped my world on its head, I tell you what.
That's right indeed. Hank Hill's proud indeed. That's right indeed. Heck, actually reminds me of the whole sequel to the 21 Jump Streets remake movie they did with 22. Wait, was that the first one? It might have been the first one where one of the dudes, he actually was the jock character, and then he punched a random nerd, and then all the nerds they just gathered around. Was like, "Hey, dude, that was mean, man. What are you doing?"
That movie was funny, I will admit. I did see that.
That's right, indeed. That's right. The roles have reversed, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. The pages have turned, the roles have reversed, and we now have eggs that are rolling. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, speaking of rolling, folks need to roll over to your wonderful website and snag some copies of your magical books and keep up with all the stuff that you're doing. So, folks need to do just that. What's the best way for folks to do so?
So my books are available, one, on the inklingspublishing.com website. And over the holidays, they do tend to have bundle sales. So I would recommend checking them out, in November and December too, to see what kind of sales they maybe having. Otherwise, my books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And then my website just kind of keeps you up to date on everything. You can't, I don't have a link. I think there's a link just to get to Amazon from my website. You can't just buy it from my website, but I'll have to work on that. So I make it easier for you guys. But check out those bundle deals, and maybe you'll get all three of my books for a really awesome price. Just saying.
That's right. Who doesn't love bundles? That's right, indeed. Bundles are great. That's right, indeed. Especially when it's a bundle of joy. That's why the J stands for joy, y'all. That's right, indeed. So, heard it from the bundle of joy yourself. That's right, the historical bundle of joy. Snag some copies of magical books. Share with your friends and family. That's right, indeed. Get your Egyptian love on, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right. Throw on some Egyptian mucks too while you're at it. That's right. That's right, indeed. And then read the book, get in the zone, and then put a pyramid on your head, and take a selfie with the magical books and share it to Jay. That's right, indeed.
Oh yeah,
That's
you
right,
tag
indeed.
me. You tag me out there. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. The game of tag, folks will actually like. That's right, indeed. The one is kids and one is grown-ups, not the Facebook tag like some idiots do. That I'm not a fan of. But that's a whole other tangent. I won't go any further down on. So I'm not gonna say any parting words before we close up shop.
I would like to say thank you so much. Thank you for checking things out and listening to me blab about being a nerd and about how much I love reading. And yeah, maybe check out a book on your history. Maybe you want to go to ancient Egypt, or maybe check out some Arthurian history, which you'll also find in my trilogy. I kind of bring some of those women from King Arthur's time to life because I think they sounded awesome. So thank you so much for being on this journey with us today. And I appreciate you. And thank you, Dom, for having me on the show. It's been a blast.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best.